What's going on YouTube? Today we're going to be talking about live resin and why I personally don't consume it anymore. With that being said, there is good live resin out there. That is not an oxymoron. There is still good live resin that exists, but it is super hard to find due to something called CRC. So funny enough, I'm talking about I don't consume live resin. I really don't these days, not in any form. I don't dab it, I don't vape it, but I am wearing a True North shirt. If you guys are in Michigan, you know that True North is a pretty strictly live resin brand or cured resin. They do a really good job. They don't CRC. CRC completely changed the game a few years ago. If you're not familiar with that term, it stands for color remediation column. Not really sure where the column comes into play, but it means that a lot of these companies are making inferior product, inferior live resin. They are remediating them to make the appearance of the live resin look more appealing, whether it be the actual dabs where it just becomes a lighter color, or same thing with the carts where you just have a clearer looking oil, in the hopes that customers will buy it based on the appearance. But with that being said, when you are stripping the plant of its impurities, you are also stripping the plant of some of the stuff that you want, some of those terps and cannabinoids, all that stuff that plays into the high other than just THC. So yes, it can be good to remove the impurities, but it would be way better to start with a product that doesn't really have a ton of impurities. Therefore, rosin is usually a better product because you can't really hide impurities. There's no remediation with rosin. Otherwise, it is not rosin. But there's definitely levels to live resin. Like I said, there are a few good brands in the Michigan market, True North being the most reliable, them and 5-Star, which they're kind of the same thing. But a lot of live resin, pretty much 99% of it is going to be CRC and is not going to be a good product. That's why you see live resin for so cheap. A lot of people are using shake and trim. That's why they're able to sell it for $6 a gram or whatever crazy. The other day we were selling them for $4 a gram. It's like, at what point do you question like how this is being made? Why is this gram of concentrate cheaper than a gram of flour? Doesn't make sense when you sit down and think about it, but there's a lot of reasons for it, and CRC is a terrible thing. CRC completely ruined the live resin market. I know people who will not even ever try live resin again just because CRC has kind of ruined everything. It seems impossible to have good live resin because you don't see it these days, because people aren't taking the time to make it, because the customers who are educated enough to know that live resin is bad are typically only going for rosin because it's a safer bet. And then you don't have people like looking for high-end live resin. It's kind of like a weird spot, and it has to make the price point make sense where it's beating the price point of rosin, which is really hard to do. If you are making high quality live resin, sometimes that price point will get up into rosin price points, which does make sense. If you're making a high quality product, it's a little bit more expensive to make, which makes total sense in my eyes. If you're someone who does dab a lot of live resin, I would make sure whatever you're getting is not CRC'd. I'd make sure you're not getting something with remnants of butane in it. That's another thing with rosin, is there's no solvents used in the process, so there's no chance that they're going to be left over or any residuals in what you're dabbing. Most brands do a pretty good job of removing those solvents, so it's not technically solventless, but it is solvent free, meaning that the solvents have been used in the process, but they're completely removed and purged in the process, so they're safe for consumption. I know it is a pretty big price jump when you're going to rosin from live resin, but in most cases it's 100% worth the money. You're going to get a better experience. It's going to be easier on your lungs, and you're just going to get way higher and have a better time. You don't need to dab as much because you're getting a better product, so you don't need as much to get you where you want to be. People will be like, oh, I dab so much a day, blah blah. It's like, dab something better and dab less. It's probably gonna be better for your body in the long term. Obviously, inhaling stuff, I know dabs should be better than smoke theoretically, but if you're dabbing stuff that was made from shake and trim, it's probably not the best for you in the long run. And we don't have a ton of science to even see how that plays out yet, so we're kind of the test dummies for that. So better, in my opinion, to err on the side of caution with that. And I do think rosin is a safer bet. But if you can find live resin from a reputable brand, I do think it's still can be good. I think a lot of times it gets a really bad rap because of CRC and just how warped the market has become on live resin, because it is mostly shitty. It's very rare to find a quality live resin, and it's not a total oxymoron, but at this point in time, it's getting to that point. I know a ton of terrible brands for concentrates. I don't know very many good brands of concentrates that aren't making rosin. Rosin is definitely what the market is looking for, especially the people who are willing to spend the money. So the quality is there. Other guys are trying to beat the price, and that's why live resin has gotten so crazy cheap, and people are just finding ways to cut corners on it. That's why you get such terrible product. If you open like 10 jars of live resin side by side, a lot of times they'll just all smell the exact same. If they do, that's because they've been CRC'd. All those terps have been removed in that remediation process, and you're getting a leftover product that is oil that has THC in it that's going to kind of get you high, and you're going to get the placebo from dabbing it, but it's not really going to be anywhere near the experience that dabbing rosin or a nice live resin that has not been CRC'd will. So highly recommend checking out where your brands are coming from, what they're doing, what their processes are like. If you are doing live resin, especially if you are doing rosin, like I said, it's pretty easy to tell. It's either the rosin is good or it's bad, but I have seen a few brands come in to the dispensary that look like they're CRC'd rosin. They're very light color, they're wider than my skin, and I am very scared about that. I've never seen rosin that color. They're very cheap, so I have not the best feeling about what that is. If I do end up finding what that is, I'll let you guys know, but so far no answers on that kind of stuff. With all that being said, if you did make it to this point in this video, I hope you learned something. If you have any questions about CRC, if you have any questions about rosin, live resin, distillate, anything like that, let me know and I will answer to the best of my abilities. I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Peace.